Today we're talking about, you guessed it, trauma. I know this is not a laughing matter in any way, shape, or form, but I'm bringing out my trigger warning clown nose for those of you who are my originals from my original podcast. It's actually had a 1.0, a 2.0, a 3.0, and now we're on the 4.0, if you can believe it or not. But I'm bringing back the clown nose because today we're talking about trauma. And when I'm talking about trauma, the best thing to do is to self-soothe myself, number one, by being a complete clown. That's probably the Sagittarius I see coming through. And number two, we should be laughing in the face of danger at these people. Now, before I say everything that I'm about to say here, disclaimer. I am not a doctor, okay? If you are struggling to the point of needing help, this video will not suffice. I'm here as a friend. I'm not here as a professional. Now, with that said, let's get out the clown nose. See, part of me even bringing out this clown nose, this is a perfect example, because when I was first trying to do this podcast, back on my original Metamystic Show channel, when I was talking about my Christian deconstruction, which basically means I'm not a Christian anymore, all right? I spent many episodes explaining something that I could just say in 3 words. I'm not a Christian anymore. That's 4 words. Not a Christian anymore. Today we're talking about traumatic experiences and that they're keeping us stuck. I started this podcast with all of my crazy, wacky ideas, right? And then because of the trauma that came up when I started talking about it, I kind of backpedaled. I switched my podcast onto multiple channels. This is just an example for you guys of a literal real life experience that you can see with your own eyes of me processing through my own trauma, trying to explain my story while my family members are sending me all of these long drawn out texts and stuff about basically that I'm living a lie, when actually the way that they used to know me, that was the lie. Can I get an amen in the back? And I'm tired of letting these traumatic experiences keep me stuck. So since I had this version of my podcast with the clown nose and when I was being my crazy self with just reckless abandon without caring what these assholes were saying to me and bringing up all of my deep recessed wounds from my childhood with the son here, with the baby. Yeah, deep inner traumas. We're going to talk today about some of the things that I did from that point to now, which is about 2 years' time from when I was doing my clown nose thing, back on my podcast, right? How did I go from there to here while every possible trauma that existed in my conscious and subconscious mind was coming up as I was creating this Metamystic channel, as I was trying to create this podcast and this brand, if you will. Even though I'm not a brand, but we should all be a brand, You Inc., right? Rock on. Every single person should be completely authentically them, but at the same time, we should learn how to play the game. I've been learning that from Reck, who was a marketer and copywriter and still is today, and his class Core Influence is really helping me a lot. So I'll link that down below. If you are a content creator and you want to remain authentic, but you want to also learn how to play the game so that you don't have 4 views on your video and you actually get to reach some people. All right, so let's bring it back around. How did I process grief in real time? All right, I'm going to take the clown nose off. How did I process grief, because that's what it is, and we're gonna get into this today with the 3 of Swords, while in real time people were literally trying to choke me out to the point where I couldn't even speak anymore? How did I do that? We're going to talk about that today. A few just tricks and tips that I picked up along the way. Hey guys, here's my 5 tips on how I got through the absolute worst, darkest part of my life and made it through to the other side. All right, there's my marketing. 5 tips on how. No, this is real to me. How did I get through this? First of all, I don't really freaking know. My angels, guides, my ancestors, rock on, and my own damn self. All right? So the first thing that I want to talk about today, if you are plagued with traumatic experiences and memories to the point where you feel stuck, you're facing imposter syndrome. Like, say you want to do something. Like, say you want to do what I'm doing. Like I mentioned, core influence, link down below, by the way. Not sponsored, just support Chris and his work. And rock on to all my core influencer dent makers. Love you guys. The reason why it's so hard for us to move forward when we're trying to do things like this, like even if you're not wanting to put yourself out there like I am, even if you're just wanting to be a regular person in the world and like function normally without feeling like you can't even go out with friends, without high social anxiety or panic attacks. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is just a friend sharing a couple experiences, all right? I want to make that very, very clear. I'm just a regular person. I'm struggling as we speak. This morning, before I started filming this, I had an intense panic attack to the point where I didn't even know if I could film this episode today. So hello, everyone. Hi, it's Missy Gordon, the Mystic here. We're shining light. That's the first step. Shining light and looking at the reality of what we are struggling with. And for a lot of us, we actually don't even know what the problem is. Half the time, like last night, I was literally pacing back and forth in my kitchen. Like I couldn't breathe, symptoms up the wazoo, to the point where I felt like I couldn't eat dinner. Like I have a lot of trouble eating dinner. I have a lot of trouble sleeping. Just being honest with you guys, right? Doing the best I can in life, but here's I'm just talking about a few things that have helped me through some extreme waters with the 6 of Swords, and that's really what we're talking about today. How do we get through this stuff? How do we move through it? Because we talk a lot about shadow work, right? We talk a lot about, healing our traumas through things like shadow work, for example. That's what we're talking about today, in a nutshell. We're talking about shadow work today and how we process these traumatic issues. Because sometimes, like I said last night, I don't even know what my problem is. I'm like, why am I having a panic attack right now? And that's part of this process. This is point number 1. Shining a light and waking up with the help of our angels, because we do have angels here, waking up to the reality of what's really going on here, right? And a lot of this is subconscious, not trying to get Carl Jung on you today, talking about dreams and subconscious, or am I? Right? Because with this Wheel of Fortune energy, we have a lot to lose, in other words. Us staying stuck in these traumatic experiences that, whether they're subconscious and we don't even know why we're upset or having an issue, or whether they're conscious and we're having like flashbacks to Nam and we're remembering like when our ex cheated on us, or when our business failed, or when our parents did this or that. Right? I could go into a lot of things today. I'm going to tell one story as an example here with this sun energy. See how there's a baby on this card? And I should be using my other deck that has the censorship, but I don't. 6 of Swords! No, but that's seriously crazy because my other deck has the 6 of Swords at the bottom of the deck, right? And when I pulled cards for this episode, the 6 of Swords is really the star of today's show. This is astral travel. And we're going to get deeper into this, but let me just share a quick anecdote. So with this baby energy here, right? This is an example of a traumatic experience. I mean, I'm sure you know what traumatic experiences are, but I'm going to share one quickly because this is an experience, all right? For me. I always wanted to have children ever since I was younger, right? And this is an example of waking up to the reality of my issues, right? Because I could pretend like I'm good, I'm living my dream, I'm living my purpose, I'm doing this podcast right now as I'm recording this. I'm just trying to be transparent with you guys. This is the reality. I don't care if you're freaking whoever you are. It doesn't matter. We all struggle with issues, right? My first business mentor, Sandy Krakowski, was literally doing parts work, IFS parts work, and she is a multi-millionaire and had 17 businesses over the course of her copywriting marketing career. And when I was in her stock market class, she was literally going to therapy. So it doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter, you know, how many achievements you have. She was dealing with stuff from her childhood, sun card, with her narcissistic mother, still as a 60-year-old woman, right? So we gotta unearth this stuff. This is an unearthing energy with the judgment card and the sun. It's inner child shadow work with this baby energy here. So when I was younger, I always wanted to have kids, right? But then as I grew older, I realized that, you know, I was a little fruity, right? A little tutti frutti. And I came from a Christian home where my parents are both ministers now. Back then they weren't, but now they are. And from the age of 12 until, well, the most recent text that was sent to me a few days ago, they are still basically telling me that I'm living in sin and I'm living a lie and come back to Jesus and just be like the prodigal son, Melissa. Just be like the prodigal son. Just come home. Just leave your life of sin and come home. Just come home. Just come home to back to how you used to be. When in reality, how I used to be was actually the lie, and who I am today is actually the truth. And that's a hard pill to swallow for people. And if you want to listen to an episode talking all about that, watch my episode right before this, because I talk all about that. I talk all about what do we do when people are literally like bringing up every possible trauma while you're trying to do the absolute best you can, Wheel of Fortune, and live your purpose and live out loud, right? So what do we do when that happens? Watch my episode right before this. We talk all about that. So, for example, I always wanted to have children, but then when you know, I came out as queer to my family, that was no longer a possibility. And because I was young enough to still be, and what I mean by no longer a possibility is in their paradigm, it was no longer a possibility for me to have a child if I was with a woman. Now, I have only dated women since 2014. Before that, I was engaged to a man. Yes. And then anyways, they fucked me, basically, is what I'm trying to say, in the mind. And that's why we're talking about this today. How do we get through this stuff? I'm still dealing with stuff, even though I've been out for years, right? Anyways. I'm just saying, sun card, confidence. I got a lot of Leo in my chart. I live out loud. I speak my truth, or I started to a couple years ago, right? For real. It's like, don't let that fool ya, is my point, because I have a lot of trauma that I'm working through currently as I'm explaining this video. All right, this podcast episode. So I always wanted to have children. Basically, my father brainwashed me to the point of, like, this is an example. There were two women. My father's a musician. He's a pianist. He's a beautiful singer, very, very talented speaker as well. He's a Gemini. He's a minister. He's a Christian pastor, right? Everybody knows him as Pastor Randy. We love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. But this is the reality. You can love somebody and also have the reality. At the time, this was like over 10 years ago now, he was on a worship team at a Methodist church with two women, both played guitar, and they were married. And they had two children that they adopted. Beautiful family. Methodist church that was quote unquote in support of us. I found that wasn't really the case, because these women literally had to go to people's homes and explain their position and basically plead their case. Let's be real. They were dehumanizing these women, even in an open and honest church. That's for another day. Love and light to all. My point is, this was a big controversy, right? In amongst my family and extended family, that these two women were married and had these children and everything. And I remember one time I got into an argument with my father, because I do have a lot of solar energy, let's put it that way. Been in many an argument with my father. I love you, Dad. I really do, right? But I am not going to be silent anymore. I've been silent for 30 years for you, so that you would still love me. But I have a responsibility to follow my heart, and we're going to get more into these other cards. I'm just trying to open here, guys, so that you follow what the energy of what I'm speaking with. I'm not just like, hey, let's work through some traumas, guys. Come on now. Let's come on around the campfire. This is... I saw a tarot reading the other day from Chelsea Gomez, rock on to Chelsea Gomez, and she was saying, like, be careful not to become bitter in the way that you joke. And that hit me. So thank you, Chelsea, because you're right. I can make jokes, but at the same time, I don't want to be bitter. I want to transmute my anger into power to speak alongside of others in my community on issues like this. So my point, back to the two women with the two children, I was in an argument with my father, and I said, riddle me this, Dad. Riddle me this. What do you expect these women to do? They're living in sin, according to you and according to those in our extended family. It's 1:11 p.m. right now as I'm speaking. What do you expect these women to do? And this is what he said to me. I love you, Dad. This is what he said. All right? He said they should both get divorced, number one. And then I'm like, well, what are they going to do with the children? And he said, well, they can each take one child. One child can go with one mother, and the other child can go with the other mother. Well, I guess we can just tear them apart at the seams and just throw one kid over there and throw the other kid over there. It's like, see, and this is not just my father. I love you, Dad. All right? You taught me many, many things, and I'm the person that I am today because of my father, right? I worked with my dad for many years. So it's complicated. It's light and dark, high priestess, and we're going to get to her. We can live in the reality of both. It's not either or. It's not my dad's evil or my dad's amazing. It's not either or, black or white. It's both and. Right? And that's a beautiful quote that I've heard many times from Richard Rohr, who I respect, and he is I think he's technically a friar. I think he is under the order of Saint Francis of Assisi. And yeah, he wears the brown. So I think he's technically a friar, and he never married, and he's the one that I have many of his books. He's the one who turned me on to that phrase. It's not either or, it's both and, right? Same like with my gender. That's how I identify. It's not either or, it's both and it's more, right? That's how I see myself. So anyways, back to this. It's like, I'm still struggling. Even if I was dating a cisgender, heterosexual man, I would still be struggling with this, all right? So I lived my entire early adolescence until the moment that I'm recording this episode in pain, traumatic experiences, and we all have them, right? Let's just share the talking stick. Leave down below. If you want to share with the class a traumatic experience that you have had, we will welcome you with open arms and love you through that to the best of our ability. Even if I just send you a heart saying that I love you and thank you for sharing, please leave down below. All right? I love you guys. This is an open community. And everybody's welcome. For real. Not like the Methodists say, love and light to the Methodists. At least they're trying, right? Let's give a round of applause to the Methodists, right, guys? Because at least they're trying. I see rainbow flags when I pass churches all the time. All right? At least we're moving in a direction. We don't know exactly the direction, but at least we're moving, right? Okay, so let's get to the next part. We all know what you have in your head, some traumatic experiences, or just a bad feeling, like maybe you don't fully understand why you're feeling stuck in life, but you just know that if you could barge through that barrier or heal through it, that's really what we're talking about today. If you could even dissect or understand what the problem was, you could feel like you could then move forward into your destiny or your best life, right? This could be you, like I love Madam Adam, and they're always going to Disney World and stuff. It's like, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. High Priestess, Empress, Queen of Cups. High Priestess, Empress, Queen of Cups. So first we talked about what it costs us. All right. It's not just, and we're going to get to this. Let me just say one more thing on point number 1. Our traumatic experiences that are keeping us stuck, it's not just about, oh, wow, this sucks. I'm stuck. It's what is it actually costing us? Like for me, what all that trauma was costing me is in my head for many, many, many years, I had burned into the psyche of my mind, crying on my knees, begging God to heal me of whatever. Heal me of whatever I got, whatever disease I have, right, guys? The freaking rainbow disease. I'm sorry I can have a little fun, sweetheart. I'm sorry I got a little bit of a feather boa. Maybe you should try it sometime. All right? So anyways, I'm trying to remember Chelsea Gomez. Don't get bitter. Don't get bitter. All right. What is it costing us? For me, it was costing me the idea that I could ever have children. I came to terms with the fact that I wouldn't have children, to be honest with you guys. And in the past few years, I finally started working through some of this trauma, and I was like, wait, why? That's an old paradigm, but there's so much trauma there of arguing with my father for hour after hour. Try arguing with a Gemini. You're really not going to win. And I am a Gemini midheaven. So, joke's on everybody. Joke's on everybody here. But I argued with my father for many, many, many years. I argued for my right to just be neutral, to just be a human. It wasn't even like, oh, I'm arguing for marriage or I'm arguing to be able to have children. I was arguing for these choppy waters on the Six of Swords. I felt like this from start to finish. I don't ever remember a time where I was not constantly feeling these like CPTSD type symptoms, and I'm not even going to use that phrase. Or that diagnosis. I'm just going to say I have never felt a time in my life where it hasn't been fight or flight. Right? You know, I might look a certain way. I might look confident and stuff, but on the inside, I'm struggling. So how have I moved through some of this stuff? Well, that's what we're talking about today. So what is it costing us? It's costing us our destinies staying stuck. It's not just like, oh, wow, it sucks that I can't start my new business. It kind of sucks. I could be making more money, or I could be traveling more, or whatever your thing is for you. It's like, it's not that simple. When we stay stuck in these traumatic experiences, it is blocking us from the fullness of who we are, our highest timeline. In other words, that's what it's costing us to stay stuck in these traumatic experiences, right? So point number 2, now we're cooking with gas. I know that was a long open. Thank you so much for those listening. Sometimes it just takes me a little while to get there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, anyways. All right. I've already been canceled like 35 times anyway, so whatever. What do I have to lose? High Priestess, Empress, Queen of Cups. All right. How do we begin this work is really what I'm talking about now. Now that we've set it up and we've talked about these traumatic experiences are literally costing us our best lives and our best timeline, right? That's what it's costing us. It's costing us who we freaking are. So it's worth looking at this stuff. It's worth looking that fear in the face and saying, Dad. Sorry, guys, I know. I know it's cliche that I have father issues, but it's looking in the eye and literally genuinely saying, Dad, I'm going to be who I am. That's it. Silence. Turn it, throw away the key. I said what I said, right? How do we begin this work? High Priestess. Again, I am not a doctor, okay? I've read multiple books on parts work. You know, that's where I'm getting some of this. And I'm also pulling it from like Byron Katie, The Work. I'm pulling it from Kyle Cease. I'm pulling it from, you know, I'm pulling it from psychology. I'm pulling it from spirituality. The perspective that I have is pulled in from all those places. And I have personal experiences of how I've healed through this stuff, but I am not a doctor. All right? High Priestess is our shadow work card today. How do we begin this process? Through getting in this High Priestess mode. Now, how do we do that? Right? Just let's start right now. This is step one. Wherever you are right now, let's just sit in silence for 5 seconds. Ready? That's all you need. 5 seconds. My heart rate started to go down. I started to realize I'm looking at my guitars that are hanging up behind you right now. I'm remembering, oh yeah, I'm in my studio. I'm making a podcast right now. I'm present with my environment. It only took 5 seconds, all right? Now, if you're somebody like me that it takes me a long time to get into a deep meditation, let's talk a little bit about, it's 1:03 p.m. right now on the clock. This stuff is a process, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the process of this astral travel to help us move through these memories and emotions. If you want to support the channel, by the way, if you want to support the show, this is the way to do it. You can buy merch. I use these cups every single day. So they're actually good, and I love coffee, guys. All right, I'm an iced coffee connoisseur. I'm from New England, you know what I mean? So I'm always drinking coffee. It's the middle of the damn winter. Well, we're almost in spring now, but if you want to support the show, that's a way to do it. And that's a perfect example of this Empress energy. This is what I believe we need to do if we're struggling to get into this astral travel mode, to actually start to dig up some of this childhood stuff with the sun, and so that we can realize with this Judgment card energy, what is even there? What is blocking me? What is causing me to be stuck? Like, a lot of us don't know. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us do not know. Like, if I want to be a mother, Empress, and I literally just started thinking of this like 2 years ago, because I told you guys I was not planning on having children because I was so traumatized. All right? Like, they traumatized me so bad that I would never be able to get married. I would never be able to have sex. I would never be able to have children. Like, I was celibate for years. I had in my brain that I was going to have to be single. So anyways, that's kind of why I went more into my spirituality and became a monk like I did, is because I was like, well, at least I can give my life to Jesus and serve my purpose in this world, even if I can't have a family or get married or any of that, right? But a couple years ago, I started thinking about it. Empress Sun. This is like, this is energy of like having a child, right? I started doing this shadow work through, astral travel specifically, all right? And that's what I'm talking about today. It's like, but I couldn't just sit here in the high priestess mode and just be like, all right, I'm doing some shadow work. It's like, how do you do shadow work? And we'll talk about that another day more deeply. But this is just a quick, this is quick, all right? High priestess to empress is my solution on how we go a layer deeper when we're in meditation. When we're in the high priestess mode, we're just sitting quietly, or we have frequencies on in the background, or I like to listen to like ambiance videos. Like I'll put on like spaceship ambiance, for example, and it's just like it feels like I'm enclosed in space and I'm just like going through the stars in a spaceship, and I just close my eyes with my headphones on. Because I have a lot of issues with this, guys. My heart is pounding all day, every day. Oh, you should get some help. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. All right? Thank you, New York. All right. I'm losing my clown nose. This is how you go a layer deeper, in my opinion. How we sink down how we seek what we're after is how we get in tune with our heart. Queen of Cups. I love how these three came out together. What a beautiful, beautiful imagery here. Look at this. High Priestess, Empress, Queen of Cups, male, female, non-binary, however you identify. This is how we get in there. All right, we sink down into this meditative state, and we can use guided meditations. We can use hypnosis. I like Michael Seeley for that. I listen to him all the time when I'm in bed at night, and I put on my headphones and I just go. I've had past life regression experiences with Michael Seeley's videos. I've had all sorts of stuff come up. With the Empress, let's do an example of Empress right now. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Caring about myself. Right? Self-care, kind of making the environment feel good. Like, what feels good to you? If you're really, really stressed right now and you feel like you can't meditate, what's going on? We got to get into that Empress mode. Well, all these people are calling me and texting me, and I need to do this and I need to do that. That's not Empress. Well, I can't just leave them on red. Why the hell not? Well, because they need me. I mean, it's just because you are a Queen of Cups, male, female, non-binary, however you identify, and you love people and you care about people and people always come to you all the time, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use this same exact energy upon yourself. Turn off your phone, right? Turn off your phone. This is Empress energy. Focus on yourself. You matter. Your meditation matters. Remember, this could be part of the issue to begin with. What's keeping you stuck? I wonder. Let's look around the room. Let's take a tally. Who's here? Who's blowing up your phone? Who's bothering you? Even if it's a good thing, like, hey, come out. Let's go out tonight. Let's go out tonight. Maybe you need to be an Empress for a couple minutes here and focus on yourself and be like, all right, I gotta like pull back, guys, for a night. I gotta do me. I gotta process grief through astral travel. Like Missy said on her show, right? Empress is caring about you and doing things that make you feel good and closing out other people. It's not about being selfish, but it kind of is. It's about being self-focused. The Empress does what makes her feel good and her feel right. And the way that you're going to feel better overall in your entire life is if we start dealing with some of this traumatic stuff that's keeping us stuck to begin with, right? Kyle Cease talks a lot about this, right? So anyways, there are many other resources that I can list today, but let's stay on topic. Almost done, guys. All right? I know this is a journey, but this episode itself is part of the journey. It's part of the work. Eight of Pentacles, if we're talking about Byron Katie, that's what her work is called, the work, right? So if you want a resource, very good resource there as well. All right. this is how we begin. We got to get in that Empress mode. We got to get in the High Priestess mode. But if we're not the type of people that are experienced with meditation and astral travel, right? And it's hard for us to meditate, and we have a lot on our plate and a lot on our minds. This is how we go. This is how we get into that mode. Again, Empress stuff. We make the room nice. We get a cup of tea. We make the lighting look nice. We light a candle. We wear something luxurious. It's Taurian. This is Venus energy, Empress. Like, look at the way she's dressed. Maybe you need to go buy yourself a beautiful robe to wear that you literally wear when you meditate. Like, maybe it's gonna make you sink down into your subconscious where you remembered all the times that you didn't take care of yourself, and it's like then it's gonna start to unlock and access those traumatic events that are triggered by the exact thing you're trying to do. It's like, I'm trying to get into a meditative state so that I can handle this stuff, so that I can see what's keeping me stuck, and then it's like it's gonna present itself. The problem presents itself when you realize, oh my God, I can't even meditate to do the said work, 8 of Pentacles, Byron Katie, because I realized for all these years I've been putting myself last. Well, there you go. There we go. We're cooking with gas, right, kids? Okay. Kids. Even if you're like older than me. Okay, anyways. I'm an old soul, guys. I've done this before. All right, we've laid the groundwork here. Now let's go one more layer deeper, and then I'm gonna close. I'm actually just gonna sit and drink coffee for a second here. I wonder what I'll do after this episode. Well, I'm going to be editing it, but just an example. I wonder what I'm going to eat today for dinner, Empress. What's a nice thing I can do for myself today? Right? So now, when we are sinking into this meditative state with the High Priestess, and we're getting in tune with our heart and our emotions with this Empress energy, number one, she has water streaming behind her, and the Queen of Cups is literally the queen of the water. She's the queen of the waters. I would recommend working with water as well. I like to put on running water videos in the background while I'm meditating, or even just like while I'm editing and stuff. See guys, this is me right now, editing Missy. Flowing water. Love you guys. Because it gets me into that flow state. It gets me more into the yin. And this is not a gender thing, guys. Trust me, I really struggle with my gender identity. And when we talk about feminine energy, it's very triggering for me. And so I'm really working with this feminine energy over the past couple years to get in tune with some of my deep woundings surrounding all of that, right? So water, working with water in any way you can, showers, baths, sounds of water, swimming in water, going around water, taking a hike by water, any of that stuff can help you to get in tune with your emotions again if you feel like you have been blocked from your emotions. Those are some things that I have done. So now once we're in that state though, and we're kind of in this watery emotional energy, and we're caring about ourselves, and we're mothering ourselves with the Empress, and we're working on what's keeping us stuck, this is what's gonna happen. First, it's gonna start in the mind with the 6 of Swords. And that's why I like Byron Katie's work, because she has you go through some mental exercises that help you to walk through mentally the work, right? What we're talking about today. So when we're in this meditative state and we're sinking down into our hearts, some memories may begin to come up. Like I was talking about with the example of thinking about all of those years that I was so heartbroken that I'd never be able to experience what it felt like to get married or have a family or any of that stuff. I had to come to terms with that back then. Now I'm flipping the finger off to it, and I'm literally giving my life to help speak on that so that other people can get the hell out of that mindset, because it's toxic and it's of the devil. It is of the devil. These people are like, oh, you're of the devil, you're of the devil. You're of the fucking devil. You're doing the devil's work. Oh sister, you're doing the devil's work. And I will spend the rest of my life exposing that. All right? Okay. Thank you everyone. Okay. Don't mess with me. I'm a Taurus moon. I will spend the rest of my life, 333 on my timer when I said this, the rest of my life defending the children of our society so they don't have to deal with the likes of you and go through what I went through with tormenting thoughts for literally my entire puberty to now. All right? Okay. Sorry. I'm back, guys. I'm back. See, I'm blacking out. I'm doing the work as we're talking, right? And see, that's an example of what can start to happen. You may start thinking about all of these things with the Six of Swords. It's like you're going to start traveling through your mind. Like, or things might start coming up. Like, he's moving through choppy waters on this card. And it actually might start to feel a little bit turbulent. Queen of Cups, Six of Cups, it might start to actually feel a little bit overwhelming to you. So again, do this with caution. When I've done parts work, IFS parts work, it's like I start to get into a very emotional state. So, please, if you need help, please contact somebody. You know what I mean? If you don't want to do this alone, don't do it alone. Do it with a therapist. You know what I'm saying, guys? Anyways. I just felt like I couldn't even leave my house to drive to a therapist because that's how effed up I've been the past few years. Dad, all right? Okay, anyways. Sorry, guys. But I'm back. It might start to feel like you're in these turbulent waters. Now, this is my advice. Again, I gave my disclaimer, but this is my advice. I'll say it this way. It's not my advice. This is my experience. This is what I have done. And it has helped me, okay? You don't need a degree for that, right, guys? Okay. When you are traversing through these waters and these painful memories are coming up and you're starting to realize, like, oh my God, this is why I'm stuck. Because this is why I haven't even been able to think about my future, really, when it comes to relationships and stuff, because I haven't even wanted to look at the fact, example for me, didn't even want to look at the fact of having children or any of that stuff. It's like, how the hell are you supposed to live your life if you don't even want to look at that stuff, Missy? And I had to, and this is my point, this is what you can expect when you start this process. I had to move through these choppy emotional waters right into the Three of Swords. So again, this is what I've done. Not for the faint of heart. The Six of Swords, Three of Swords is not for the faint of heart, right? But we're doing what works. How do we tackle this stuff? We move into the pain with the Three of Swords. Six of Swords into the Three of Swords. Oh, isn't that kind of counterintuitive? Aren't we trying to, like, get rid of our pain? The only way out is through. All right? The only way out is through. 2 Six of Swords. It might be coming at you from both angles, man. It's like how do I show this? It's almost like this. It's like it's gonna start coming from both angles. And that's what happened with me. What I was trying to explain to you guys with my clown nose thing is, like, I started this podcast. I came in hot. I was like, I'm gonna I'm going to expose the darkness. High priestess, I had a spiritual awakening. I was like, I've seen the truth. I've understood things about myself. I'm going to come out. I'm going to advocate for my community. I'm going to speak what I've experienced and known about religion and what... Anyways, it's like I came in hot, and then all of a sudden it's like things started creeping up from the recesses of my mind from my early childhood with this sun energy that I couldn't even put into words. And that's why I kept like changing my podcast, and I couldn't get a handle on things because it was so traumatic to face these issues that I started, it's like they closed in on themselves. It's 1:44 p.m. on the clock right now. You are chosen. And a lot of you have a big destiny with the Wheel of Fortune where we got to get unstuck so that we can help with the awakening, with this judgment energy that is trying to happen on this planet. This is the new earth, right? Like, we're working with the angels. We're working with our ancestors. We're working with the higher order to help bring forward healing to this planet. For those of us who work with Archangel Raphael, I'm one of them, right? And we're here to evoke change. And part of that change is moving right into the Three of Swords, moving into the storm instead of swimming away from it and being like, oh, this is painful, this is scary, this is traumatic, this is bringing up stuff for me. We're swimming into it. We're moving into the pain. It's kind of like when you have a Charlie horse in your leg and you can't straighten out your toes and they're all like gnarled up like this. It's like, and it gets worse and worse. It hurts more and it contracts more. How do we work through that? How do we work through a contracted muscle like that? We push into it. We push into the pain. And that's what I'm talking about today. Push into the pain. Push through the pain. That's my advice. That's what I've done, and that is what has saved me from literally ending my life. Where's my clown nose? Right? I was a self-harmer for 17 years. If we just continue to shy away, my throat's getting weird, throat chakra. And let these things take us over, or it could be more benign than that. It could just be like, oh, like say for example, I had many opportunities to give up on this podcast. This is literally 4.0 iteration of this freaking podcast. And I love this podcast, obviously. It's like my own child. Right? And this is my mission, this is my destiny, right? So it's kind of like, where can you run? Where are you gonna run from? Yourself, Missy? You know what I'm saying? Jonah and the whale. It's like, that's why the guy got swallowed up in the whale, because he was running from his calling. He was, whatever. Biblical story, trigger warning, right, guys? The reason why Jonah was swallowed by the whale to begin with is because God called him to judgment, right? You have a calling as well. It might not be going to Nineveh and telling them that if you don't repent, the Lord's gonna destroy you. that might not be your bag. But it was Jonah's, according to legend and lore, right, guys, in the Bible. And I read the story many times. Basically what it was is the reason why he got swallowed in the whale is because Jonah was running from his judgment, from his calling, Wheel of Fortune. He was running from it. And so God supposedly swallowed him up in a whale, right? Okay, so we can run, but we can't hide. We can't run from ourselves. It's just going to close in on itself, right? Six of Swords. So why run? Let's just face reality. Let's face the truth. Sun shines a light on judgment, Wheel of Fortune, really who we are, right? It's not even about like, oh, I have a calling, I have a purpose. Our purpose is to be who we are, whatever that is for you. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have some like nonprofit organization. You could be, I don't know. I could say so many things here, and I'm going to wrap it up, all right? So my final thing that I want to say is, as we are doing this shadow work and this, or one could argue that it's parts work, you know, one could say that this is, you know, a psychologist could say that this is therapy, you know what I mean? This is talk therapy. But it really depends what angle you're coming at it from. It's all just different methods to the madness that is our trauma that we're trying to overcome so that we can move forward in life and we can process this grief so that we can actually live our best lives, right, guys? I really don't care how we get it done. This is just something I've done. I've gone into meditation. I've gone into deep layers of meditation, sometimes with help, like guided meditations, other times silent, right? And sometimes 3 hours, and then other times 3 minutes, right? And it's like I sink down deeper and deeper. I move into the pain. I press into the pain, and then this is what happens. This is our final card. Thank you, everyone who have stayed through to the end here. The 8 of Cups. This, to me, the image that's coming into my head is a teapot. A teapot that is boiling over. The pressure, the steam. See, this is cups. Hot steam, hot water, emotions, hot emotions. See, we talked a lot here about the mind. 6 of Swords, 3 of Swords. These are mental energies. Even though they are emotional and they're connected with the heart chakra, it's like, it's all connected, right, guys? But these are more mental energies. We could be thinking about memories or things that hurt us or things that have stopped us in the past or why we are the way we are or why we're avoidant attachment or why we're whatever. You know, all these things we could go into, right? What happens when we go in there is this pressure of like steam. It's like hot emotions, boiling water. It's like when a teapot is boiling and you hear that whistle. This process, and this is my closing point, this process here has helped me personally. This is not in theory. This is my everyday practice. It lets me let out some steam, 8 of Cups, where I can begin and highlight the word begin, because this takes years. I'm sorry, I know. I know that's not good marketing. Oh, I can get you healed in 3. See, I'm choking. Sometimes they're like, Missy, you're being too much of an asshole. Simmer down. All right. I'm just saying, I've been around marketing and copywriting for years. Chris Reck is just like over in Washington right now, like, Missy, stop this. All right. Sorry, Chris. Okay, I'm coming back, guys. Closing statement. Being less of an asshole. I'm sorry, everybody. Hey, I'm part of the group. I'm just being a devil's advocate by saying it's like, yeah, I could get on here and be like, hey, everybody, now let me sell you my course for $699, and I might do that because I need to pay my freaking mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Love and light. It's a balance, right, guys? But I'm just saying, this is going to take probably years, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. This process for me, I've been doing this for the past, let's say 3 years consistently. I've done it for years, but consistently, purposely, where I go into meditation and I do this astral travel where I move into the pain, I move into the storm so that some of that emotional hot steam can be let out of me. With the 8 of Cups. And the 8 of Cups is a card of emotional detachment to where I'm getting less angry as the days go by. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of fire in this chart. I don't want to be angry at my father. I don't want to be angry. But I am angry for society. So even after everything is healed and everything's, whatever, I'm always going to advocate. I'm working on transmuting my anger and my pain, letting off steam. Making this podcast in and of itself is me doing what I'm telling you guys to do today. It's transmuting this anger that could easily turn on itself into bitterness. I could be the most bitter, angry person that you've ever met in your entire life. It's like I could have gone that direction. I consciously chose not to. I consciously chose to move into that pain instead of just moving away from it. I moved into it and decided to face it so that I could be sitting here. I could sit here today and look you in the eye and say, we can move through this. The more we do this practice of moving into the pain, and there's many ways to do this. I'm just talking about it in a spiritual capacity, astral travel and high priestess and all this stuff, right? There's lots of ways we can do this. Therapy, whatever. Going on a walk, whatever you do, right? To let off this steam. We gotta let this steam out. The body keeps a score. It's gonna stay stuck in our body, this trauma, if we don't let this stuff out, if we don't process it, if we don't find a way to transmute it, and if we don't find a way to detach from it emotionally. It's like the more we do this work, the more we're gonna be able to detach from the pain. And that's my message today. I love you guys so much. It's been Missy Gordon, the Metamystic here. Again, if you want to support the show, support the channel, you can always buy merch. You can donate as well. Links are down below. I love you all. Here's the clown nose. And I will see you on the next one.